We News is being brought to you in part by Nigel Arakan Booksellers, Flowerline and the NLCB.
Good evening and welcome to We News on Guile the Channel. I'm Cindy F. Daniel. Yesterday, in a 24-page judgment, High Court Judge Rashish Kokaram ruled on a constitutional motion filed by lawyers representing Ishwar Galbaran Singh and Steve Ferguson, which challenged TNT's Extradition Act. He ruled that the act was, in fact, not unconstitutional and did not breach the defendant's right to freedom of movement. This ruling means that the extradition process, once signed by the Attorney General, Anand Ramlogan, could take immediate effect. Based on the mounting public interest and pressure and the demands for extradition by the U.S., does the AG really have a choice in the matter? Well, We News spoke with Attorney at Law, Om Lala, who answered this question.
The Attorney General has a discretion to decide whether or not he signs the extradition papers. Now, in the past, the practice has been to sign it without more. Now, representations have been made to him that he ought not to sign it, that the proper forum for hearing this matter is Trinidad and Tobago, and that he should give consideration to the matter being heard and determined here, and not sign the warrant until it's dealt with. But it is a discretion that he holds. I know these representations have been made to him, and he's considering the representations to make a determination whether he signs it or not. Well, it's essentially a legal issue, so I don't think it will in any way interfere with our relations with the U.S. Obviously, the purpose and the intent of the extradition treaty with a country is to facilitate cooperation in matters of this nature when a request is made. The Attorney General has to have good ground if he intends to exercise it, and if he does so, it's presumed he does it on a legal basis. And if it is on a legal basis, then the United States should have no objection to it. And it would not, I think, in any way personalize a relationship with the U.S. and Trinidad.
In the event that A.G. Ramlogan opts to retain Galbaran Singh and Ferguson for trial here in TNT, how could this impact on the People's Partnership?
I think the timing is very unfortunate for all parties, because these men are UNC or were UNC financiers at some stage, and were actually the allegations that have been raised are part of a transaction that took place within the UNC administration in the last administration. So again, while the legal issue ought to be separated from the political issue, there is going to be that political impression created, whichever way it goes. Because, sometimes law and politics is a very fine line that can be drawn between both of them. What is interesting, though, is that if the Attorney General actually signs it, these men may also have the recourse of appealing his decision. And it'll be interesting to see how that pans out if he actually signs it, and how the court will treat whether they will entertain let's say, a judicial review application of his decision to sign it.
Well, like the rest of the country, We News will be closely monitoring this story. Throughout the week, we've brought you reports on the deteriorating relationship between Venezuela and Colombia. However, in tonight's report, Venezuela is the source of a cocaine bust in the Ukraine.
According to a report by AFP, Ukrainian security forces seized more than a ton of cocaine at the Black Sea port of Odessa, the largest drug haul on record in the country, authorities said on Thursday. In mid-July, 2 containers arrived in Odessa from Venezuela. After a detailed examination, 4,400 pounds of cocaine was discovered, divided into 1,200 portions, enough for 12 million doses. These were the statements made by the Security Service of the Ukraine, SBU. The haul was worth an estimated $180 million on the black market and was the largest ever made. 5 suspects were arrested, 2 Ukrainians, a Russian, 1 German, and a Bulgarian. In a government meeting earlier this month, President Viktor Yushchenko outraged opposition politicians and commentators by purchasing cocaine, marijuana, and other drugs over the internet in a bid to show how easy it is to purchase the illegal substances in the Ukraine. He brandished samples of the drugs and subsequently criticized efforts by security forces to prevent trafficking within Ukrainian borders. President Yushchenko's recent statements mean that the Ukraine security forces are under heightened pressure to limit the amount of drugs flowing into the country.
Now, Trinidad and Tobago and countries across the English-speaking Caribbean will celebrate 172 years since Africans brought to the Caribbean were freed from chattel slavery. But almost 2 centuries later, what does this freedom mean to the people of this country? We News spoke with Cindy Alleyne, president of the National Youth Action Committee, about the celebration of emancipation from the point of view of a young person.
I think that many young persons appreciate emancipation. They look forward to it, especially those who are very involved throughout the year in terms of cultural performances, such as the artists that do like African dances, folk dances. They are very interested in the period, but they are more interested in the celebration. But many of them, they don't understand fully the meaning of emancipation. For example, Camberley riots, Jose riots, Butler riots, and all these various riots that people would have been through, where they would have worked together collectively to bring about change in so many different ways. So we see everything around us, and we really don't have an appreciation as to how it came to that, but we really don't have the appreciation for the process of emancipation of our people over that period of time. And that is what they need to be teaching the young people in school, so they can have a deep appreciation as to emancipation, how it came about, the heroes involved, and also the process that we have been going through along the way.
We may not have physical chains anymore, but tonight, We News' Jomo Williams discusses the emancipation of the mind.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Those are the words immortalized by the great Robert Nesta Marley in his Redemption song. Every year in Trinidad and Tobago, we celebrate Emancipation Day on August 1st. But what are we celebrating? What is the significance of Emancipation Day? I mean, slavery over, right? The Africans were the only race to be completely stripped of their identity and essence when they were brought to the New World. Their names were taken away from them, their religion, their language, their social structure, even their music and instruments. The very soul of their being was trampled upon with systematic mental torture designed to make them believe that they were inferior, that they were less, and could not be equal to the white man or anyone else. When the true fact of the matter was, this was perpetrated against the black slave because he, above all else, was superior to the white massa, both physically, mentally, and in social structure. Long after slavery was abolished, even to this very day, the conditioning of this mental genocide perpetrated against the African slave still holds sway. They still look at black as a representation of evil and white as a sign of purity. They bleach their skins and straighten their hair to be more like those who oppress them. When it comes to sense of fashion and what is acceptable, we here in the Caribbean still take our cues from North America and Europe. They degrade their women and undervalue their own worth both as individuals and as a people, as if the very whips of massa were still on their backs. Only through proper education of self will these chains that are still wrapped around our psyche be broken. It is to this end, every year, the Emancipation Support Committee, as part of their Emancipation Day celebration, holds lectures and hosts events designed to educate the Afro-Trinbagonian on where he really came from, his true history. Freedom morning come, children. This is the true meaning of Emancipation Day. This is Jomo Williams for We News.
Certainly food for thought. Thanks a lot, Jomo. Well, we're taking a break now, and when we return, stay alive, don't text and drive.